Everybody, welcome to the stream. Today we are going to be working on uh, we're going to be working on our sales report. So when you push the cash button, it actually does something other than just kind of sit there. So we're on our invoice, as you can see. I just went ahead and opened it. Some of the quick changes that I made while you were out last week. I did not do very many. I just did a few, one or two. And one of them was here where we did pending. And so what we're going to do is we're on editing the layout currently. So if we double click on that and we go to the held invoice and we double click on the held invoice, we'll see the pending script. So if you just click on the pending script, what I did was where we have the if statement. So if the register name is basically what that's saying. If there is something in this name field right here that then it will set the variable as a name. So what we did was I just basically said, after that was done, just before the end if, I said set the field register name to quotation marks. And what that does is it will clear the field every single time, so that if someone does put something in there, a name, a number, something to identify who the person is in the held invoices category, it will erase that every single time and it'll be fresh and clear for you when you start again. So we are good with that. That was pretty much it. So what we have now is we have a cash button. So if you double click the cash button, we have verify and cancel. Well, it's pretty simple. The cancel thing, what we're going to want it to do is just a single step. And if you come over here and you click on this and you type in close, it'll say close file, close popover, close window. You just want to close the popover part because it's just basically ending it's saying, no, we didn't. But the verify button, on the other hand, is a little bit different. We actually need to create a script for this information that we need to do. So what we'll do is we'll click on the verify cache button and we'll say we need it to perform a script. And we need to add a script. And we're just going to call this cache sale. That would work, cache sale. Let's just go with that because I don't think we have anything else that even comes close to that. So the very first thing that we want it to do, obviously, is freeze the window because we don't want it to go anywhere. We want it to just stay on the invoice while the script is actually running. And then we're going to need to set a ton of variables. So one of the very first variables that we're going to need to set is we'll just type in cash. We'll specify what it is. And so the cash is going to be this amount button right here. So we'll have to go to invoice. And it's going to be, as soon as I find it, amount tendered, no. Total sale. Should be this one right here, total sale. Or total due. Let's click on total due and we'll call it good. Now, if you have any questions about that, what you can do is you can close this down. Okay. Click OK. And you can click on this one and then just go to the data and it will tell you invoice right here at the very top. It'll tell you invoice and then amount tendered. So you know what field it is that we're actually looking for. So invoice and amount tendered. So we can double click on this again, or double click on the verified button again. Just click on the cash sale and it'll bring us right back into our work in progress. Let's just call it a work in progress. So we now know that how much the total sales was. But some of the things that we don't know is if you want to keep track of like the tax that you actually collected, we're going to actually have to create another little box, another little sub summary or a little summary part or a calculation. Basically, it would be a box that is going to take the subtotal times the subtotal times your state tax, and then it will present in a box. So what we can do with that is let's just say okay, let's just close all this stuff out for now because we will make it all happen. Close out our little inspector window, manage our database, and we're in register right now, but we do need to be in invoice because invoice is the one with all of the calculations, all of the monetary systems in it, basically. And so you've got subtotal and blah, 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 all that other stuff. So total of line total. So this one is going to be, I'm just going to say tax collected. Easy enough to do. And we'll create that as a calculation. And so our calculation is going to be our, and we can move it over here so that we can see what we're trying to do. And so the subtotal is the total of line subtotal, right? So what we need to do is get subtotal and then multiplied, and then you can just type in 0.05 is tax 0.05. Okay, and we will say okay with that, and we'll say okay with that, and then we will go into our field picker, and we don't want any labels. We just want to bring in our, I am so sorry for that. I did not realize I still had my phone. There we go. Did not realize my phone still had sound to it. So we need to go to the invoice table. And now what we need to do is we need to go into the tax collected. We're just going to bring that out, bring it down here somewhere. It doesn't really matter like where you put it. You could put it right underneath the subtotal if you really wanted to. It doesn't matter. So that way what happens is if we go, let's close this out. We have it, it's there. If we exit the layout and we go back a record, it'll have a 4-digit number is basically what it'll say. So in this particular one, it's 11.75 cents, which the tax was actually 12 cents on this one. That's odd that it's actually doing that. It's actually showing the exact tax that's collected. Well, geez, maybe I already did it. Okay, so now you guys know 2 ways of doing it. So the tax would be the tax that you collected. So let's go back into our, let's edit the layout, go back into our cash sale button, the verified button, double click on that, cash sale. And now what we're going to do is we're going to set another variable, and that variable is going to be the tax. And we are going to go into invoice and state tax. And now what that'll do is now you have the amount, the date we've already done. So if you need to set a register number, this is where you would actually set a register number. And you can, it's easy enough to do. So we can set a variable. We'll just call it register. And we'll specify it. And we can just specify the amount. So if you want to call this register 1, I'll put in like, I usually use a couple of digits at least instead of just one, so 100. So that's register 1 to me, or 001, either which way. That's fine. You can just put that number in there, and now the value will always be that, and you can change that. So if you have a different invoice, or you've copied this invoice and it's on a different thing, all you have to do is go in there and say, you just copy your cash sale. So it'll be cash sale script copy, and then you just make those changes to it. So this one would be the value 200 or value 300 or whatever the case might be, so that you know what register it is. Now we're going to say okay, just because what we're going to do real quick is we're going to go to our sales report. And we see that we need the invoice number, cash sale, and then the total sale. And that's pretty much all we need. We need register and then notes. So now if we go back, so invoice number, total sale. Invoice. Cash sale. Double click on verify. Now I'm doing it this way so that you guys can get a better idea of what it takes to actually do it and why you're actually doing these particular motions, why you're trying to make these things the way that we're actually trying to do that. So we do need to set another variable, and that variable is going to have to be the invoice. And we'll specify that that's actually the invoice ID number. I'm pretty sure that this was a register one, right? Because I knew it wasn't the other one, so it had to be register one. So now we have the register number. We would have notes if we needed to, and then a variable here is going to be the subtotal. So what are we doing with subtotal and subtotal? So the cash, how do I make this sound interesting? The total sale is not always going to be the same as the subtotal sale. So there's going to be like a difference in there between those two. You don't necessarily have to define those two if you don't want to. But this one we will just call the subtotal. And this value is going to be under invoice, and it will be subtotal. Now that we have pretty much all of the variables that we need, it's pretty simple to just say, let's go to, now if there's something in here where we need to then erase it, like if we needed a specific number or an identifier erased, this is where we would actually do that. At this point, we're just going to tell it that we need it to go to a layout. And this layout is going to be our sales report layout. And then we're going to start setting fields. The very first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new record, right? So if we just type in new, it'll say new record request. Just type in new record request. Then the next thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to start filling in those places. So the date is already filled in and the timestamp is already filled in. So what we need is the total amount that we collected, and we want to put it in the cash system, and then that system will be different. Let's just do it, and Tim will be quiet for a minute. I don't know. So we're going to need to set a field. Come on, set field. And the target field that we want to do, and I really wish this was something that they would do, that if you change it, that this would actually follow you, because this specify fields thing, sometimes you're like so far off and you have to do it for like every single one of them. So the invoice number, we wanted to set the invoice number, and if you remember correctly, we just did $invoice. So it's $invoice. And we'll set another field. And that field is going to be the cash sale field. Now the cash sale field, because we're keeping track of everything, so we want it to be the total amount of cash that we collected. So what was it that I was thinking? Why is it that we did that? Because this cash sale is going to be, the specify target is going to be cash. $cash. And we'll just click off of it and it'll come up. We'll set another field. Gotta double click that turkey. Daily sales. Now it'll say total sale. I don't know exactly what it was or why I was thinking. I usually defined those or redefined those as two separated units. But in this particular instance, they're actually the exact same unit. It doesn't matter, because you're trying to zero your drawer. You're not trying to keep track of how many sales were taxable and how many sales were not taxable. And that's, in my register, it keeps track of the taxable, non-taxable, and total sales. So we will just do, we'll just do total sale. And we're going to specify that that total sale is $cash. And we'll just be done with that. And do this, because when you get to split pay, the split pay, the total sales is going to be different. So for cash sales, it doesn't really matter. You're just doubling that number, which is fine. You're not doubling it. I mean, you're just duplicating it. But when you get to your split pay, you're going to have cash, credit, and then total sales. So that's where that comes in. So for now, we're just saying this is how much cash should be in your drawer. So let's go with that. Okay, set another field. This field that we're going to set is the invoice number, total sale, cash, register ID, right? And we're going to specify that as $register. And we'll say OK. So we now have used our cash. We have not used our tax. We've used the register and the invoice. And we have a subtotal. We don't necessarily need the subtotal. So I'm just going to click on the subtotal part and delete that, because I don't think we really need that. And we're just going to say OK for right now, but we're not done with it. Because what we're going to do is we're going to manage the database. We're going to go into our daily sales, and we're going to create a new record, and it's going to be called tax collected. And it's going to be a number field. Create. Okay. Now we're going to go to our sales report, and we're going to add the tax into there. So we'll need to do the field picker, and we don't want a label put on it because we'll put our own label on it. And we're just going to grab it and drag it over here. And I know a bunch of you are saying, Tim, how come you didn't put a summary in there? And I'm going to. Why is that not moving? That is so crazy. Because normally there's like a little bracket that'll come up that'll tell me, oh yeah, you guys, you're in the right place. Okay, so I'm gonna just click on the total here. I'm gonna hold the control button. I'm gonna slide it over. And I'm gonna do I'm gonna double click it this time and do backspace, and then I'm gonna do tax collected. Collected. And what in the world? Using my arrow keys. Click off of it. And we can move it with our arrow keys, which is probably the smarter part. So let's go back to, let's close out this field picker. Let's go back to our database. And we should be on daily sales. And so now what we need is a tax summary. We're just going to create a summary, and we're going to create that, and it will be a total of, as soon as we find it, tax collected. Total of tax collected. So now if we go into our field picker, we can go into our tax summary and drag it underneath our tax. Make sure it's right in the middle there. There we go. So now you know, like on a day-to-day basis, how much tax you actually collected, and you can segregate that money to make sure that you're making your payments on schedule and everything is working out for you. So now if we close this out, let's go back to our invoice. Double click on cash, double click on verify. A lot of people say, Tim, why did you do the verify button? Well, the reason why I did the verify button is because, yes, I'm bald. Very bald. The reason why I did the verify button is because we had a lot of people that just push cash button and it would just disappear and they would be just fine. And then they'd go back and they'd be like, oh my gosh, I pushed the cash button and I didn't mean to push the cash button. I meant to push credit card, and it just messes everything up. So this just gives you one extra step to make you think this is a cash sale. This is not, this is a credit card sale. So now what we've done is we've put in our invoice number, the amount of cash that we actually collected, the total sale, the register ID, and we are going to, because we now have tax, right? So we are going to set this field. And the field that we're going to set in daily sales is tax collected. And we're going to, and it will be under invoice. What am I doing? I don't have a clue, so let's cancel that really quick. Specify. Well, I'm just chasing things around, ain't I? So the field that we're actually going to set, the target field, we better just go back and make sure that we did this right. Okay, so tax collected. And we're going to specify the field and the result, and the result is going to be $tax. And so now this will go into our total tax. Every time we'll go into the tax line. So we now have our register, our cash, our invoice ID. We've now filled in all of these spots. We need to now commit our records. I don't know why, but I always just commit records. And then we can go back to our, it would just automatically take us right back to our original window. So it would be go to, right? Go to layout. And it would be the original layout. I'm double clicking it. Now, in this particular sense, now we're at a point where, if you remember correctly, we did a pending issue. So we said, hey, if you have pending, now is where we need to, because what will happen is once this comes back to the original layout, this will automatically create a brand new record. Automatically. So what we have to do is, now that we're at our original layout, we have to say if, right? If I'm double clicking you. So if it might be easier just doing if is empty and then the pending ID. If is empty, pending ID, new record. Either which way, doesn't really matter. You can do it if not is empty, but we'll just do if, and we're just going to type in is empty. Come on. And the field is going to be pending ID. Then we want to create a new record. And we're just going to move this up, because it's kind of weird when you have that. It's kind of, you know, I'm just used to typing in the first word and then collecting it and knowing what it is. So if the pending ID is empty, then new record request, and it'll just go to the new record request. Or it'll just create a new record. I'm sorry. And then you can do the end if and then halt script. Now, if it's not empty, and the reason why is because if you remember correctly, when we did the pending, you're actually bringing this up in a different window. So if it is not empty, then it would go on, right? So if it is not empty, then you'd want this to go back to a different window. But we're going to work on that whole thing later on. So for now, what we're going to do is we're just going to leave it the way it is, because scripts can be changed and or modified to make sure that they're producing the results that we want them to. So we're just going to click OK here, and I think what we'll do is we're going to do a quick pseudo sale, or we'll just go back to this one. And we notice that our ID is empty. So press cash sale. And if we press cancel, it'll just delete. Watch. It just closes the window. That's all it does. It just leaves everything exactly the way it was. If we press verify, it just gave us a whole new deal, or a whole new invoice with a different number, 008. So now let's go to our sales report, and automatically we see all of this information is in our sales report. So it says the tax collected was 11.75. Now we can set that field if we want to, like these fields. Let's do edit layout. All of these fields to include that one. I like them to all be centered. And all of these fields, if we go to our inspector, and I move the inspector over here so that you guys could see it. Data, where are we? Why is it not doing what I want it to do? Because tax collected should be a currency. And fixed number of decimals is 2. and the current system settings, right? And our summary will be the exact same. We'll go down here, and it's a currency, fixed number of decimals, and system settings. And I believe if we click this one, it's currency. This one's currency. I'm just double checking all of these, make sure that we have them all correct. They're all currencies, so we're good to go. Now if we exit the layout, all of the information will be up, and it will have automatically rounded the number because we did a fixed number of decimals. And it's always wise to do a fixed number of decimals, because what will happen is when you're doing your deal, it will say, hey, you'll be minus a penny somewhere. Now, not that a penny is a big deal, but when you are doing 1,000 transactions over a week or whatever, and every one of them is a penny short, that's $10. That's money in the bank that we could have definitely had. So now we have our credit sales, and why is this not straight? It's going to drive me insane. I just now noticed that. This one got moved over for some weird reason. Whoop. There it is. Because I like all of my things to be like straight. Straight, right where they're supposed to be. So cash, credit, and total sales. And when we're doing the credit button, it's the exact same thing, except for this time we're going to say credit, right? So we can literally copy that script and name it to credit, and then just go through and change all that stuff to the credit. So it's all under the credit card thing. Very simple, right? Very, very simple. So if we manage our scripts, and we're just going to go ahead and close all of these little bad boys out. And we're just going to go to cash sale. We're going to click on cash sale. If we right click on cash sale, it'll say copy, paste, rename, duplicate. So we're just going to duplicate it. And that's fine. You can do that. You saw me do it. You can do it. But don't duplicate unless you see me do it. And the reason why is I can't stress enough. When you duplicate anything, it marries to something else. Whatever its originator was, it's married to it. It will create records in the places that you don't want them to be. That's why we don't push a lot of relationships in these fields, because we don't want them to be related. We want to physically, Wells Fargo Transport, I don't know what you'd call it, the armored security truck, which is the script. We want it to take information from one place securely to another place and drop it off. We don't want anything to interfere with that. So when we're moving information around in our reports or in our solution, we do it through script. We make sure that we grab the information, hold on to it tight, and move it from place to place, versus building a relationship where it would just automatically do that. Because, that's great, but sometimes automatically doing it is not a good idea. So this time, we're going to name this one credit sale. And if you want to, you can do, whatever. But here we have credit sale. Now we're going to set all of the variables. We can leave it, say cash. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. What matters is when we're setting those fields. So the invoice number is going to be the same. And the cash sale right here, we don't want it to be cash sale, do we? We want it to be credit sale. So that's how easy it is to do. All you have to do is click on the pink, and it will bring it up, and you can change whatever field it was that you wanted it to go to. And so the tax collected is still going to be the same. You're still going to commit the records. You're still going to go to the original layout, and you're still going to halt the script if it is pending. So that's the only thing that we needed to do, was change that one item from cash sale to credit sale. And now if we click down in the bottom, click down here in the bottom, I'm going to hold the control button and press S. And what that did was it just automatically saved it. So now if we close this out, We're going to go to our invoice. And we're already on edit mode. So, and we do credit sale. I hate the fact that that happens. And we're going to tell this one to perform a script. And it's already there, credit sale. And we're good to go. And now we're going to double click on the cancel. And what do we want it to do? A single step. And the single step is anybody? Close popover. So if we just type in close popover. And we're good to go. I normally like to write a script for that. Close popover, close. Go to menu, go to here, go to there, whatever. And the reason why is because it's so much easier when you have to do it 1,000 times to just grab it. And then you can also make changes to it if you need to, so that if you have all of these going to a specific, like on your register, when you are, we'll just call that good, on your register, when you are in your menu one, and you're pushing these buttons, and you're going to all of these different places, blah, 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 and you have this button say, go to invoice. Well, you have to change every single one of those buttons to go to invoice, right? But if you told it to create, or you said, you created a script, and then you copied this, you could change that script. You could copy and paste the script and create a new script and basically say you want it to go to a different invoice. So you make those changes globally over the entire set versus making a single change that you have to repeat. Because in mine, this particular page, I have like, probably 200 pages of products, and so, but it's broken down into categories. So my first menu is a category menu, then subcategory, and then subcategory. So how that works is, like, instead of just having a jawbreaker, so let's just do this really fast. So do you guys remember how much jawbreakers were? So I have 2 jawbreakers and a soda pop, and here's our lock. Remember the lock that we did? We haven't changed it yet, or we haven't did anything to correct that. So now it'll automatically lock it into 2002. See how it just went straight back to it? And so we could either remove all of these things, or we'll just say verify credit sale. But now if we go to menu, see how it created a new one, and now the new number is 2009. Now if we use our menu button, it has now changed this number to 2009. Now the reason why it didn't change it before was because we skipped the menu button. We stopped that process, and we just went straight to it via our little window pane here, or a little drop down that says this is what we can do. We can go to whatever page you want to. Now you can close these off pretty relatively easily. And how you do that is you just go into edit your layout, manage your layouts, and these little check marks. So if I uncheck the mark, these are unused layouts. We're just going to leave them there. So let's say, just to prove a point, we will do menu 1 will be available, but register won't, invoice won't, pending won't, sales report won't, inventory in and out won't, which inventory in and out we will change. We're going to change that. So if I go here and open this, let's see what it does. This is one of those ones that we need to get rid of, right? So all we got to do is grab it. Apparently you can't grab it. Grab it. And move it over like that. And now it just put it into the, it's kind of funny how I just did that, right? You just like, whoop, move it over there. Okay. So now as you see, menu 1 was like the only one that I left open, right? So now if we close this and we exit our layout and we go to this page, menu 1 will be the only one that you can see. The only way that, so, and what this does is if you have another user, someone that's using it that cannot edit the layouts, that's where this menu comes for them, because they actually will see this menu and they can touch it and it'll drop down and they'll have access to all of those files. So you have to unclick all of those so that they can't get a hold of them. You can get a hold of them simply by pressing edit layout button, and then they're all there. All of them are there, but they're only not there if you can't edit the layout button. So when you're doing permissions, your permissions are pretty simple. Just don't allow other people to edit the layout. And especially if they're on tablets, it doesn't allow them to edit the layout anyway. So now that we are here, we can exit the layout. And we'll do a couple of soda pops, and we'll go to our inventory or our invoice. And here is our number 2009. And it says it's $6.05 for these items, and 30.25 cents in tax. If certain states actually they're like anal about it, and they actually do a 4-digit thing where they're like, they want those quarter pennies and those half pennies and all that stuff. This state is not quite so bad. So this is going to round it to 30 cents and not 31 cents. And like you see here, it rounded it to 30 cents. You also notice how none of these numbers are centered. So let's just do a quick layout, edit the layout. I'm going to go into here. And where's our inspector? We're looking for the inspector and the appearance. And so here it actually says our top and our bottoms are 2. Six, 7. Wonder. Okay. It's just gonna kind of erase it. So here this says 5. So I'm gonna go down 1 to 5. That should be perfect. Exit the layout. Should be perfect. And it looks pretty good, right? It's all in the same spot. Now you can have the tendered, you can change the you can change the amount. We did talk about this before. If we add because it's a negative amount, so we can say if negative whatever, do not show it. And that's basically the word I'm looking for. I can't do anything because we're not in edit layout mode. Goodness. I hate that when it moves it. I don't know why you can't just lock it into place and say, okay, we're good with that. So it's actually a script trigger or a conditional formatting. So if the value of, so you can add one and you can say if the value is between, or if the value is 0, whatever the case might be. So if the value is less than 0, then we want the text color to be red. Okay. And you know what we should have did? We should have did the conditional formatting. We should have done bold. Okay. So now if we exit the layout and we go in here and we type in 1.5, which is $1.50, what happens now is it just made this red color, saying this is negative number. So people understand this is a negative number. You don't give them, they give you $1.50 and you're going to give them $4.85 back. No. They gave you $1.50, they still owe you $4.85. Now the split pay button, we will work on the split pay button just a little bit, because the split pay button is a little bit different. So how that works is we need to create, you would create an amount that they paid, and then the change due would be what they still owe you on credit card. And then it's kind of like it's a pretty interesting system, but it works really super easy, and it's basically all you're doing is you're just saying, okay, this is the amount, the tendered amount is the amount that goes to cash, and the change due is the amount that goes to the credit. Pretty simple, huh? Pretty simple. But so now it's like you say, it's $4. So if we go backwards and we type in $10, it instantaneously changes that back to the normal color, and we're good to go. Now it says their change is $3.65. And we're just going to click on credit card sales, and now we're at 010. So now if we go to our daily report, sales report, and we exit the layout, and we can actually create a key to get here if you want to, but this is going to be in your admin thing, and here really quick, like in just a minute, we're going to actually start creating your admin pane or your admin window. And so here you can see, here's the invoices that you've done so far. And you're actually tabulating them, you're separating them by the date and the time that they were actually created. So this one was created at 10:17, at 10:26, and at 10:35 respectively. And so your total cash sales that should be in your drawer is $2.47. Your total credit cards, the amount of credit that you should have charged out or whatever is $14.12. And then these totals, you don't necessarily have to bring a total amount if you don't want to. I don't see it as necessary because this will give me a total in the cash, and I know at that point that this is how much cash should be in my drawer at the end of the day. So because this will separate by every day. So when my salesperson brings in the cash, says, okay, I zeroed the drawer and this is how much cash. And this is how my business works, and I'm pretty positive yours probably works the exact same too, is you have a salesperson on the floor and the salesperson is responsible for their drawer. And then so what happens is, and if you have different people working at different times, just make more different registers, more different things, and they can all report to the same thing, so it's not that big a deal. Or you can change the reports and have all the reports separated, and then have a script that brings all the reports together. No big deal. If you guys will give me ideas on the chat, or you'll send me a thing and say, hey, this is what we want to see, we'll create it. I'll show you how to do it. It's not that hard to do it once you get a grasp on how this works and how easy it is to do. The thing is it takes a very long period of time to get everything set up and to write all the scripts, because before you know it, you'll have hundreds or thousands of scripts that you're trying to manage, and you'll very quickly get lost in those scripts, and you'll be duplicating them just simply because you are rewriting them, or you're writing them more and more often, or whatever the case might be. But we know that Register 100 now has basically collected a total of 79 cents in tax, $14.12 in credit cards, and had better be bringing me $2.47 in cash at the end of the day, at the end of this day, because this is her thing is over, whatever the case might be. Her thing is over, her shift is over. That's how much cash I actually collected today. So now what we're going to do is let's quick go into manage our database, and we want to create a new table. And our new table, dun dun dun, is administration. And I like to type that whole thing out if I actually can. Administration, we're going to create it. And administration doesn't need a single field, nor does it need a pretty much anything. But you can create fields in it if you want to. So let's just double click it. And one of the fields that we're going to create is, because it's just a page, that's all it is what we're creating, and then that page will send us into different places, and it allows us to use those different places. So we will just put in a security box, and we'll just leave it as a text. Okay. Now, if we exit, nope, we don't want to exit. So we're going to create a new layout. And this one is from administration, and we'll call it admin portal computer. And we can do a form view. It doesn't matter particularly which one we're going to do, but this one we're going to do a form view. And we'll finish it. Now our header. We obviously want to change our header. We need our inspector out, and we are looking at position, right? And our 130, and if we click off of it, ding, it comes up. So our text button. Administration portal. Administration portal. Good. Click off of it. 72. Put it in the middle. Now you can put your logos, you can put anything you want into these. And I a lot of times have people that have a button and they're like, can I put a picture in there? Yes, you can definitely put a picture in there. It's so easy. As a matter of fact, one of my previous videos, I'm pretty sure I showed you guys how to put pictures in there. Simple, easy, painless. It's not that big of a deal. The biggest problem with putting a picture into a button is that you cannot read what the button says, because the picture, it's very hard to manipulate the color of your wording where you can actually see it, because a lot of times what happens is you can't see it. All you see is a picture. And if that's what you want, you just want to run off pictures, that's fine. You can just run off of pictures. I have seen people that do some really cool artwork, you know, and really make them fancy schmancy. I think it's better, personally, to make it extremely simple, and that way it's not using a lot of data and it just works. And it's effective. And obviously using something like this is going to save you tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in a very quick period of time. Because if you've priced a digital register, no matter where you go, they start at $90 and work their way up every single month per register. And then also you have setup fees and all these other fees that you're going to create, and you can easily pay someone $20,000 just to set one of these up for you, and they're still going to charge you hundreds of dollars every single month just to have access to your own portal, your own solution that you can create on Filemaker. There's a lot of downs to Filemaker, but the ups are worth it. The ups are worth it. And so now what we're going to do is we're just going to quick create some buttons. And let's see, we'll create that button and we'll call it Joshua. No, we're not going to call it anything but button. We want it to do nothing. But this to click on that. I don't want it to be 13. I want it to be like 24. I want it to be big enough for me to read it, right? Button. Okay, now we're good. So now I'm going to just control and move it over. Control, move it over. And now I can highlight all of them. And so now we have all these buttons. We're going to move dead in the center. I like to add some text on my portal. And so you know, what the portal does is it gives you access to all of the pages that no one else has access to. So your inventory would be in one of these buttons. You're going to create because it's admin inventory, so you can make changes to that. Simple, easy, painless. You can even, under these portals, or under the admin portal, you can have access to it even if you have a tablet, because that's what we're creating. So if you're walking around and you're doing inventory in your store, you can go in and you can physically make those changes right now to your store, and you can physically say, hey, wait just a minute, there were supposed to be 5 of them here and there's only 1. What happened to that? So you have instantaneous access to pretty much the entire spectrum of everything in this field, which would include all of your sales data, the reports that we're just now working on. But in my text field, I like to do administrator portal okay. Authorized persons only. Unauthorized. I'm a little slow this morning. I kind of woke up with a headache. Unauthorized use of this portal will result in disciplinary action up to and including termination and or other such legal remedies as provided by law. Now we can center all of that, ta-da, just like that, and we can create it. We can change the color, text color, to red or orange or pink or purple or whatever color you want. I like to add for authorized administration portal for authorized persons only. This that'll work. I don't care. We can. I was gonna say we could change the make it different, but that's fine. So this is, I like to add just a little bit of text into that so that people understand that this is not a portal that you can just get into and be fine with. That you could get into some serious problem. And the security box, we're just going to take the security box and drop it over here above this. As soon as I get my mouse to work, there we go. And we'll put it in the center. And so now what that does is that gives us the ability to, I hope I was covering that. Somebody's birthday is today. Facebook thing came up. Now what that does is this gives us the ability to create buttons that actually go someplace. So this one I'm going to call this daily sales. And we just want to perform a specific set. Go to the layout. And the layout that we want it to go to is sales report. Okay. This button is going to be inventory. And we want it to just do a single step. Don't forget to click on that. Go to layout. And the layout will be our inventory layout. I don't know why I'm clicking on it like crazy and it's just not working for me this morning. And the options can be changed, hand over cursor, or whatever the case might be. And you can actually create a back button. Believe it or not, I've done it before. Creating a back button is very interesting because you have to create a back button over everything and it will take you back to the place that you were. But it can be confusing because if you land on the page and then someone else lands on the exact same page, you'll go back to the page that they were on. And they will go back to the page that they were on, whoever the last person was that was entered into that thing. And or you can script yourself one that will actually name the page that you went to, and it'll put it in a hidden field, and then that hidden field will activate when you want to go back to the field that you came from. Otherwise, if you do not do that, because that's quite a complicated process, what we have to do is we have to create an ability for you to go somewhere. So here we create daily sales, takes you straight into the daily sales report, and then we have to do a button to go backwards. Here's our admin button. We're going to click on it. We're going to say single step, go to layout. Come on. I'm telling you, I'm clicking on them like crazy. And the admin portal. And now it's just to a point where it's a lot of button pushing. But from the admin portal, the cool thing about the admin portal is it gives you the absolute ability to go and do anything that you want to do from wherever you want to do it. So right now we can see that we have just a few records. We do need a our sort records button is off by just a little bit. So let's go into sort. Yeah, I hate that when it does that. We're going to tell it to perform a script. We're going to add a new one. And the new script is going to be sort inventory. And so the very first thing that we want it to do is we want it to show all records. And then sort. And we're going to tell it to sort those records, perform it without dialogue, but we want it to do a specific order. So we want to we want to sort them by category, and we'll call it OK. OK. I say OK. OK. And actually, what did I forget? Does anybody know? Anybody in the chat know? The one thing I did forget to do was press halt script. Because otherwise it will just keep doing it. And we don't want it to just keep doing it. We want to halt the script immediately after we do that. So now when we sort the records, what it does is it'll show us all the records. It'll instantaneously show all records, and it will sort them. So now we see we have candy and drink. And we have the candy is the bubble gum and the jawbreakers. And, you know, you can stop this showing what record you're on or whatever thing if you want to. And how you do that is edit layout, excuse me, and then layouts, and then layout setup. And it says delineate fields on current record only. If you unclick that, and then you undo it, it will not delineate a specific field anymore. So it will all be the same, which is fine. So far we've been running about an hour. What do we need to do? So this is our admin. Do you guys remember what we did for our number? Was it password 1234? That's typically what I do. So this sort record should be the same. Let's find out. Why did I click it twice? Sort records, no dialog, single step. Perform script. And this is where that sort inventory thingy really comes in handy. Because now it just will do it on this page. So now this one, because our admin is secure, what we could do is we can edit the layout, and we can tell it to perform a script, which is sometimes easier than just saying do the single step, because every time you're going to have to do perform script, go to layout, click, when you could just tell it, you know, just create a script. This is what I'm talking about. Like if you have various pages that you're in and you want, like, and all those pages are going to have like a button on them, and all those buttons are going to be called admin. You can, a script will instantaneously do it. So all you have to do is just say perform script, select a script, and it will take you right to there instead of having to go through all the stuff that like we are right now. So we're going to have to go to layout, and it's not the original layout. We want to go to our administration portal. So now if we exit this layout, we go to admin portal, there we are. But notice our inventory took us to the wrong inventory. And this button, let's see, this button will take us to the admin portal, right? No, it will not. This button will take us to the admin section. So we still have to put in our number. But now this same button, but it's on a different page, will actually take us to our admin portal. And so now if we exit or edit this layout really fast, we can click this and click this, because we're going to the wrong place, aren't we? Inventory admin is where we need to go. Exit the layout, and then now you can go to the daily sales, back to the admin page, to your inventory, back to the admin page. Some of our other buttons are going to be the invoice button. I actually have different ones set up for different things, the different buttons set up for different things. But at current, we should have one. Are we on edit? Edit button. Control Z. becomes your friend. We're going to call this one menu button. And we want it to go to our primary menu. To go to layout. Come on. Original layout, layout. And our layout will be menu 1. Okay. So now when we exit the layout, and I know I said that a couple of times, it'll take us straight to the menu, and then from the menu we can go to the invoice, and we can do cash, sale, split play, and we are on 0, 1, 0. And the pending button, although the friend of mine talked about the pending button, and he said, well, that held is really cool, but it's kind of a pain in the butt, and you're absolutely correct. It is a pain in the butt. I also had someone tell me that they can script, that there's a scripting thing. These are just some of the questions that we dealt with last week, or over the week, was that you can script your invoices so that, or your, gosh, I don't even know where my brain cell is. So if you go to menu and you push jawbreaker, soda pop, that you can script that so that it will definitely go to that invoice number 010 every time, or it'll just go to the new one, whatever, blah blah blah. That anyway, and it was like go to invoice last one, or go to page last, go to last, and I'm going to share with you that some of the problems I've had with that, and it's a huge problem, is that it won't do it every time. It will not do it every time, and you will end up with, so if you think you're being smart, you probably are, and your brain cells probably firing on, at least some of the cylinders. But what happens is you will go to an invoice, and then all of a sudden you get the wrong one. Now you're stuck, because now it's like, oh great, I have to start all over again, or how do I close this invoice? So I'm just going to have to close it by pressing the cash button, and I'm going to have to go back, or closing the dismiss button, or whatever credit button. So I have to close this invoice out. It'll create a new invoice, and then hopefully I'll end up on the new invoice when I go back and do a new sale. It gets to be super, super complicated. So even though this seems super, super complicated, when I did the, you have to understand, I've been doing this for years, and I've run my own program for years, so I know exactly every little bug, every little thing that happens with Filemaker that will mess you up big time when you're trying to sell product, when you're just trying to conduct business. So this is a critical thing in the invoicing stage, that you make absolutely positive that you have locked that invoice in to where you need to go. So when we go there, we're guaranteed that the invoice we're bringing up is 010. 37 cents. I'm going to pay $10. I get $2.23. Cash sale. Oh, it's verified. We have to verify cash sale. Now you can change this stuff. If you guys aren't happy with the way that it looks, you can change it. You can change everything about it. I like to keep things as simple as possible. And now you look down here, and we are at 11. But we do need to edit this layout really quick, because this, we need to layouts, set tab order, and we are going to clear all of them because we don't like tabs. And this button, let's see, I said okay. Okay. So this button, under the inspector, push the right button, Tim, is not available in browse mode. Timestamp, not available in browse mode. Pending, not available in browse mode. just have to make sure that none of these are available in browse mode, because we don't want people to be able to change them. Okay, now we're good to go. This, however, will be available in browse mode, and this will be, the security box needs to be available in browse mode. So that you can, oh no, the security box does not, the override does. And what the override is for is a dismiss button. So, and what a dismiss button does is it does the exact same thing. So let's just do the dismiss button really super fast. So here we have menu, 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 held. So let's do this menu button. And we're going to call this dismiss. And we want it to perform a script. And we're going to create a new one, and we're going to call it dismiss invoice. Okay. So dismissing the invoice is pretty simple, other than the fact that we do need it to actually do a few things. So what we will do is we will tell it to we will set a variable. Let's see, what should we do? Let's freeze the window first. Freeze window. And now what we want it to do is we want it to set a variable. And the variable is going to be the invoice. And the invoice is going to be register invoice ID. And we want it to set another variable. No, let's not set that variable out. So we'll just create the field. We'll just set the field instead of creating creating a variable and then setting a field as something else. We'll just do it like this. So now at this point, you can either have a thing that we're going to need an if is empty, override. Then we will do a custom dialog. And I think it's show custom dialog. Unauthorized access denied. Only authorized persons can dismiss authorized persons only. That will probably do it. Gotta be scary. Remember, gotta be scary. Make sure they're scary. Authorized persons only. And the cancel, we don't really care about a cancel, so we'll just call it good. And we do need to move this up here, and this variable, let's move the variable down here. So if is empty, it's just going to show a custom dialog, and then it's going to halt the script. And it has to be on the inside of the if statement. Because the if statement is, if this is true, then we're going to do this. But if this is not true, then we just skip it and go to the next level. And in this particular case, that's exactly what we wanted to do. We want to say is if our override window is empty, if they haven't put anything in there, then we're good to go. So then we need to create another statement. If and this one is going to be if the override box is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it will create a new record, and it'll send off. It'll ship off the information to your daily sales report, which is kind of where you need it to go, actually. So if this is the case, then we need to go to we've frozen, so we'll go to layout. Okay, and this one is going to be the layout, and it will be sales report. And now we do want to, we're going to move some of these things around. First thing we're going to do is we're going to set that variable, and that's the invoice number. Because we want to have that invoice number, because we need to know what the invoice number is and why it's there. And then we're going to go to the layout sales report, and then we are going to set fields. And there's going to be a couple of them. And the very first field that we're going to do is daily sales, invoice number. Okay. And the calculated result is going to be $invoice. And yes, I'm jumping ahead of myself because I needed to do what? What was it? What is it that I needed to do? Anybody? I needed to, if I'm going to go to a layout, I need to create a new record. Now, you can create, actually create a sub script if you wanted to, and what we would do at that point is we would say, okay, if our window is empty, let's show custom dialog, say authorized personnel only or authorized persons only. And mine actually is like even scarier than that. It says attempt has been logged and administration informed. You know, administration knows exactly, because I do actually do it. And it's a long-winded thing, but it's very script rich. Let's just say that, very script rich. So you can actually create a subscript, and then all you do is just say run the script, right? And then you can use that same little script for other things in other places. So if you were like, you know, if you want to keep track of what's going on in your store, and you have like a tracking record, so if someone gives a product away for free, you could be like, oh, okay, well, here it's been put in the track record. Okay, so what we did is we just went to the layout sales report, we did a new record request, and we set the invoice number there. And now what we need to do is we need to set another field, and that field is going to be our notes field. Here it is. And the calculated result is going to be dismissed. We want it to set the field as dismissed. That's all we want it to do. And then and yes, all this stuff has to fall inside of the if statement, because otherwise it will happen without. If it's outside of the if statement, like you can say, I guess you could say if is not equal to, so we could have them, it doesn't matter if it's all inside the if statement or if it's, if you script an entire thing inside of a if statement, that's fine. You don't have to though. So we could say if the override is not equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, halt script, and show custom dialog, whatever, and then just clear it out, call it good. So, but we do need to set a field. That's so funny that we forgot to do that. Just getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, aren't we? So we'll call that. So what we'll do is we're gonna, the minute that we'll clear the field instantaneously, we'll clear it. Now you can set your thing to white, or you can set so that your font color or whatever matches the back, so no one knows what you're actually typing in. There is a way to make them into little asterisks, but that's like a long-winded process in the back that I don't really want to deal with. So for me, this is just the easiest. I'll just turn the keyboard. It's like putting in your personal pin. I'll just turn the register or turn the tablet a little bit, type in my number. I might even, just whatever, but type in the number. Now this master override thingy though, this one, I really want this. If we put it in parentheses, it has to be exact. If we don't put it in parentheses, it doesn't have to be exact. It could be 1, 2, 3, 1 or 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and it's up to the computer to figure out whether or not that's close enough. And if it's close enough, then it'll take it. But if it's in parentheses, it has to be exact. It has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, just exactly the way that it is written. So here we're saying we can run all of this stuff. So let's do this. Let's say if it is not equal to, I keep pushing on it thinking that something is gonna happen. But if it is not equal to, let's just delete it. If register override is not equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, halt script, or we'll halt script. And we'll set it right there. And we'll set the end if right underneath of it. So if register override is not equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll set the field, we'll clear the field, and we'll halt the script. Now this gives them, remember, this gives them the ability to try as many times to put a number in there or a code in there as they want, perpetually, forever and ever and ever, amen. As long as they have time to sit there and type in a number, it allows them to do that under this script. Because realistically, getting them to do anything else is different. Hey, give me a second. All right. So now what we've done is we've changed it and we've said, okay, so let's put the if it's not equal to the one that we're looking for, then this is what we want it to do. And if it is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, then it will do this. So any other numbers, any other numbers, it will stop right here at the top. So if it's not equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, it'll halt the script. Now you can also show custom dialog and say unauthorized use. And if you want to, you can actually create an entry deal where it will create a new record and it will put a timestamp as to when every single person, whoever is trying to do it, and it'll even log the numbers that they tried to use if you want to do that. And how you do that is you just go to manage your database and you create a new table, and that table would be security access table, whatever, security access. And then, as a matter of fact, let's just do that really quick. I mean, it's not like we have a bunch of other things to do. So we're just going to say, we're going to call this good for now because we're going to come back and finish it, so it's not that big a deal. So manage our database, and let's go to our tables. And what we want to do is we want to call it security log. And now if we type in, or we click on it, we can create a date or a timestamp. Let's do timestamp. Learn how to spell Timothy. Timestamp, and that is going to be a timestamp. We're going to create it. And it will happen upon creation. And then we need another field, and that field will be attempt. And that field will just be a text field. And what that's going to do is whatever number that they put in there, it's going to log exactly the number and or the attempt that they put in there. So if they put in like Tim, it'll grab it and then it'll take it to this layout and it'll say they tried Tim, they tried Tom, they tried Alan, they tried Scott, they tried 12571, whatever they tried to use, because this might help you figure out who it was that was actually doing it. You can also put in there, if you want, like a register number, what register was it? So each register can have its own identifier, and it's not that hard to put a register number in. So we'll just write register, and this will be a number. For me, it'd be a number. For you, it may be a text, because you might just say it's register 1, or register 2, register 5, or register 12, or register 15, or whatever the case might be. And if there's any other information that you want. Now, the more complex systems will actually log who is on that system. So, and it perpetually carries their name, like Andrea. So Andrea is using this, but realistically, knowing if you have 5 people that are working for you, and each one has their own register, which they should. Everyone should have their own register. By knowing what register it was, what date and time it was, you know exactly who it was that tried to do it. And so that's like perfect, right? So now we know the timestamp, the attempt, what they actually tried to write, and then the register number, which is, and I think that's probably good, right? I mean, can you guys think of anything else that you actually would like to add into there? We could also add, you know what? Let's add invoice. And we'll create that, and that will also be a number. And so what that will do is if someone's trying to erase the invoice, we'll know which invoice it was that they were trying to erase. I'll call it good. And now if we go to layouts and we create a new layout, report, we want this one to be under the security logs. And we're just going to call this one security data. I don't know. I don't like to make them both exactly the same. We're going to use computer. We're going to have a list view. We'll finish it. We'll click on the header. Appearance. Nope. Position. It's always in position. 130. Click off of it. And so you don't have to have a different, you don't have to, if you want to segregate them by date, that's fine. And you can always do that later on too. For this particular sense, we're just going to log them. So they're all just going to be like in a log because they have the date. We know exactly when the date was. So it's not that big of a deal. We are going to add a text. And that text is going to be the security breach logger system, or logging, let's say, security breach let's go back, reporting system. Okay, that works for me. 72. It's going to be like a giant thing. And maybe what we should do is just delete security breach reporting. And we obviously want a window or a little button that we can call admin. And we can make 18. And single step. Go to layout. Go to layout. Go to, does everybody remember which one it is? Admin portal. Okay. And we're just going to move that just a little bit because I'm kind of freaky about making it all just right. And now we need our field picker. And we don't want any labels. We don't need any labels. And in this case, I really don't think we need labels even at all because we just don't. Invoice number. Oop. And I think we got a go to invoice search script that we could actually use for this one. So in this particular case, we can center it and we can change the stuff to blue, and we can make it bold. And we can set what's called a script trigger, or set a button setup and tell it to perform a script. And that script is, does anybody remember what it was? Return to stock, inventory admin code, sort inventory, dismiss. I thought we had one. For our, let's just cancel that. Because maybe I didn't write it yet. Pending paid cash sale. Sort inventory. Cancel. We'll just tell it to do nothing. But there is, I could have swore that I actually wrote a script that basically what it does is it goes to the invoice page, basically, and it will search for that particular invoice, and then it'll bring it up so you can see it, so you know exactly what it is. And I could have swore I did it, but I don't remember what I did on, because, Okay, so we now have the timestamp, and we have the invoice number, and now what we'll do is we will create we'll bring this attempt over here. And the register number. Come on. My mouse is touchy today. I don't know what the deal is. Okay. We obviously want that to be center. We obviously want that to be center. Now you can put, if you really want to, you can put titles. You can put, or you can even write it on the side. It doesn't matter. That's, you know, this is the invoice number. This is the date. This is the time. Whatever. Now that we actually have it, now we're good to go. So now if we go back to our script, which is the one we were just working on, which is the dismiss invoice one. So we can say if it is not equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, then what we're going to do is we're going to set a variable. And that variable is going to be, we're just going to take attempt and specify, and I don't know why it's on security logs, but because we are in security logs, that's why. Why not just go to the right page, right, Tim? We're in register, and it will be override. And so now you've set the variable as attempt for the override, and we can now set another variable, and that variable is going to be the invoice number. And in this case, I think I'm going to actually have to press in inventory num, because we already have an inventory. And it will be register, and it should be invoice ID. Okay. And now we will tell it to go to. Let's do go to. Go to layout. We have to kind of like put this in a weird place, or we're just doing it in a weird sense, I guess. So we're gonna do it's security data, I believe, is the right one. Go to security data. New record request. And then we will set field. Attempt. And the attempt is going to be attempt. So the specified thing will be attempt. ATTEMPT. And click off. And so then we will set another field. And that field will be the register number, or the invoice number, right? Invoice number. And I think this one is invoice num. And you can set the invoice number if you have, or you can set the register number. With this particular one, you can be like, you can just set it at 100 or whatever the case might be. So I think that's what I'll do, is I'll just set a field. And the target field is going to be the register number. And the specified is going to be 100. You don't have to do it that way. You can actually set the variable if you want to by just creating a window and just saying your window is called register number, or your field is called register number, and it just keeps it, and that is specifically for those that invoice. You have to make sure that when you recreate an invoice that you change it to invoice, that you rename the field, because otherwise if you have the same field, this is one thing I have a lot of people that are so confused about. If you have a field and that field is invoice number, and you put invoice number on 25 different invoices, you've duplicated it 25 times because you have 25 employees and you want everyone to have their own register, right, or their own invoicing section or whatever. So and you've got this register number put on that one, it's going to be the same. So if you put 25 or register 250 or 2500 or 1525 or whatever you put in there on the first register, it's going to duplicate it. It's no matter what you do, it's always going to say that exact same number on all of the other registers, which is kind of a pain in the butt, because a lot of times you'd like to just have that specific to that particular invoice or to that particular solution that you've created, or an invoice solution. But that doesn't work. So it recreates that number over the entire, all of those. So you have to create, if you have another invoice that you've created that you're calling register 2, or for register 2, you actually have to create another field, and that other field has to be register 2 or register 3 or register 4 or register 5. Or you could do this and just recreate your scripts and change the script for every single one of them. Just the registers, register number, register ID number. So I'm just going to press Control and S so we can save that really fast while we're here. So now what we've done is we've gone to our security data layout, and we've started a new record, and we have set the field, and set the field. So now we know the attempt, we know the date, the time, the attempt, what they actually did, what they wrote, the invoice number, and the register number. And now we can halt the script, or we can do what's called show custom dialog. And that sometimes scares them off, sometimes it doesn't. But we'll do that really fast. And we'll just do unauthorized access denied, unauthorized user detected, administration has been or administration has been alerted to this unauthorized attempt. And we don't care about the cancel, because we don't care about the cancel. Now, what that does is that if someone puts in anything else, it'll instantaneously put it on your thing, and then so there we go. But if it is 1, 2, 3, 4, then you'll actually have access to it. So okay, now now we're going to go on with the rest of it, right? So we set the variable as invoice, and the value is register ID. Go to layout sales report, and then new record. So we're going to set the field. So we want to know what the invoice number is. So we have that now, and so we know what we're actually deleting or what we're getting rid of. And then the daily sales notes would say dismissed. And now all we have to do is go back to our, well, let's see, we are going to commit those records. let's see, commit records. And then go to, and that all has to be up there. So commit, perform it without dialog. Okay. And then go back to the original layout for this set of ifs. So this little tiny thing turned into a giant thing, didn't it? You guys are probably like, oh my gosh, this was such an insane thing. But it did. It turned into a much larger issue. Because we had an issue and we were like, hey, we want to be able to keep track of this, right? So here we are keeping track of it. So now what we've done is we've gone in and we've said, okay, so if you add the incorrect security access code, then, or anything except for the correct security access code, it's going to take all of that information. We're going to put it on a different page, a security log page, so we know that you actually did attempt and we know what you wrote in the whole 9 yards. And then it'll halt the script here right after it takes them back to the original layout, which is where they started from. Now, then we've ended that if. So now if basically what happens is if you type in 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to skip all of this. So none of this is actually going to happen even at all. It's going to set a variable. It's going to go to the sales report. It's going to fill in a few of our fields that we want it to fill in because we need to know what you dismissed, right? We need to know the invoice number and we need to know the, we need a note that says dismissed. So this particular one is dismissed. And now we can go back to our, we can commit the records and go back to the original layout. So we're just going to write commit records request, tink tink, and we want to just perform it without dialog. And then we want to go to our layout, and the original layout is exactly what we wanted to do. And then we want to halt the script. And I think we can Control S that and close it out. And let's go to our invoice page, which is where we needed to be. And we're going to exit the layout. So now what we're going to do is let's go to, let's just go to any record. We're going to be like, hey, wow, I have like 2 records. Show all. Let's just go to one of our first records. This one will be good. And we're going to say dork. And we're going to dismiss this one. Uh-oh. Unauthorized user detected. Administration has been alerted to this unauthorized attempt. Oh no, now what do I do? I'm going to type in 1, 2, 3, 4. Dismiss. What did it not do? It did not erase the 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're missing something. So we need to go back here and edit the layout. If we double click on dismiss, it'll bring up dismiss invoice. We'll click on the dismiss invoice. We'll go to the bottom of the page where it says set variable. And we did in the upper part say, hey, set the field override to 0, or set the field to 0. So we're just going to go down here, tell it to set field, specify the target field, register override, and we want it to be the parentheses. And now if we click off of it, we can move it where we want it to go. And if you think about it, when we get to the, when we get to this section here, it erases it down here, but obviously it skipped all of that. And that's what I wanted to show you, is it's going to skip all of this if the number is 1, 2, 3, 4. So it sets the invoice, sets the value register ID. Go to sales report. Where did we set variable attempt? Don't we need to set variable invoice number? So the only thing that did was set that variable as the invoice number, which is fine. So here it should erase it. Freeze window. Yep, there it should erase it. Okay. Control S. Well, I think we'll just press OK. Now, if we exit layout, we type in 1, 2, 3, 4, and we dismiss it. Dismissed it. But we don't have any numbers on this particular record. So dismiss it. Unauthorized access. Okay, well, that's because I just pushed a button. 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 4, 5. Dismiss, not going to do it. It's going to say, hey, we figured out what you're doing. We don't want to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Dismiss. But what is it not doing? Do you guys see that it's not doing? It's not creating a new record, right? We need to create a new record from that particular point. So back to edit layout, back to the dismiss button, double click it. Back to our, if you just click on the blue, this part, if you click on this part, it takes you somewhere else. It takes you to a category selection of different ones. If you click on this part, it actually will take you to that exact record. So in this one, we need it to new record request. So we're just going to type in new record request. And we will put it right there above that. And call it good. Okay. And now it should actually do it. So if we exit layout, we notice there's nothing there. And we're at 2003. We're 2003. You guys remember what we were on before? 2011, right? Or 2010? I think 2010. I don't remember what the, let's see, what is it? 2011. So when you dismiss, if I did, let's go to menu, let's buy a couple of jawbreakers, soda pop, and now we go to the invoice and we're at 2011. Because I hate to waste these things, right? Just waste them, waste them, waste them. So now I've decided the person has walked away and they're like, I do not want any of this stuff. So now it's up to me to basically get rid of this. So I type in my 1, 2, 3, 4, and I press the dismiss, ding, and it gives me a brand new record, 012. Now we have the dismiss, we have the held, we have the menu, and we have the menu. This is edit layout. This is where, because this is going to just take us back to the regular menu, right? Regular menu. But this one is not. Control Z. I'm going to call this admin because I like doing admin. And we actually have to have this one perform a script. Inventory admin code. Wouldn't that be nice if we could use that one? Admin code invoice. Okay. And this one basically will say if. And notice it's a security box, right? So if the security box is not equal to, and you can do the very same thing on this one if you want to write an entirely new script, which is exactly the same as the other script. In this particular case, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say if the security box is equal to, and I'm going to put in parentheses, 1, 2, 3, 4, then we want it to go to the script, right? But we do want to set a field. So the very first thing we want to do is set a specify that field, which is register security box, and the calculated result is going to be nada. I'm going to clear that field immediately. So if the register is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, but we don't really care, when we do that, we can empty it at any point. Then we're going to say we'll go to layout, and we'll put it there. And it's not going to be original layout, it's going to be the admin portal. So it'll take us to the admin portal, but we need to set the field. So if it's equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll clear it out immediately, and we'll go to the admin portal, and we'll halt the script. Halt script. And then you can either have an if not statement, or you don't have to have an if not statement if you don't want to. You can just set, you can just say clear it out. So we can just say set field and security box, and specify as that. And sometimes adding little things like that really just kind of makes people go like, what? What were you thinking? What did you just do? So now if we exit the layout, I don't think we could, in the security box, I don't think we actually had access to the security box, did we? We did not have access to the security box. So what were we thinking? It's okay. Admin, what? Did I totally erase all that stuff? Apparently I was not thinking when I did it, because I told it to perform a script. Perform a script. Admin code invoice. See, that's the one I wanted. Admin code invoice. Okay. So instead of doing the security box, let's not do the security box. Let's do override. We'll just use the override button. Oop. And so we'll just say if the register override is equal to, in parentheses or in quoted, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now, these numbers can be different. So you can have like a number for override, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 24, whatever. Doesn't make a difference. You can have these different numbers. So now we're going to say okay. 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 Perform a script. Edit layout. So now if we type in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we go to admin, it just erases it. But if you type in 1, 2, 3, 4, and you hit the admin, it'll take you to the admin section. And now, what's the button that we're missing? You guys know? Click on this. We're going to tell it to perform a single script. Go to the layout. And the layout that we're trying to get to is going to be the security layout. So it should be the security data. I'm pretty positive. Although I do need to manage my scripts or my layouts. And if we go to the security logs and we open it, as we've done before in the past, it shows you instantaneously. There it is, right? So we can close that window, and now we can take this security logs, uncheck it, because we're good with that. We know what we're doing there. We're going to take it all the way to the top, because this system doesn't let us do anything other than that. Take it all the way up there, get rid of it. So now it's in our unused layouts file, because they're not ones that we're going to normally just use. And it gets very confusing when you have so many of them in all of the different places. So now we're good to go. And this button, didn't I tell it to do something? Yes. But we're going to call this security. And you can use that security thing for like everything if you wanted to. So now we'll exit the layout, and we'll go to security, and there it takes us to the security. Shows all the records. Someone used the word dork, and it was from register 100, and this was the exact time, and it didn't have an invoice number. This one did have an invoice number, by the way, and it was 2003, and the number they tried was 1245. So now you have a log, and you have a list, and you know exactly what people are doing. So, and you can tell you will very quickly use up all 9 of these buttons when you're doing admin stuff. So now you have access to your daily sales, your inventory, the basic front menu, a security portal or a security place that's tracking all of your records. And gosh, I've been doing this for 2 hours, and I am just like ready to keep going, but I can't. So Josh will be on shortly. I am going to end the stream here. I'm positive that we will come back. Josh is doing, we do things for Luculent, or I do things for Luculent, and Luculent, blah, 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 blah. But as long as I'm streaming, it kind of ties it up, and Josh can't do streams. So, but I'm leaving you. I hope this has been of some help. The next one I do, we're going to finish up a lot of this stuff. And I don't know. We're going to make things pretty interesting. I think next time for sure, we're going to do the split pay button. And we've now got it to a point where you guys can build and maintain a very simple register, because now you have your daily tracking. You know what money is coming in and where it's going and all that neat stuff and blah, 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 all that neat stuff. So if you guys have any suggestions whatsoever of things that you want to see, let me know. I will create it. But for now, we are done with this, and I will see you guys on the other side next week. Thank you so very, very much. Normally when I say flip side, I mean Luculent, because that's where I am most days, all the time. Anyway, so thanks, guys. Talk to you later. See ya.